I stood at my mother's grave and discovered a secret that could destroy my family. The flowers I placed weren't just for her. They were for a truth someone buried decades ago. And as I stared at the faded photograph clutched in my hands, my heart stopped. Could it be that I had a sister I never knew existed? Before I tell you what happened next, please hit that subscribe button, because some stories deserve to be heard all the way through. Part 1. The sky over Willow Creek Cemetery was swollen with thunder, like it had secrets it couldn't hold anymore. Naomi Williams stood before a marble headstone streaked with moss, her umbrella trembling in the wind. She laid a handful of white lilies, Clara Lancaster's favorite, according to a note she'd once found in an old foster file. "For years, a dream haunted me," she murmured. "Two little girls running through a sunlit field, then one vanished into light." Now, standing at Clara's grave, she finally understood why it hurt so much. A deep voice broke the silence. "What are you doing here?" Naomi turned. A man stood behind her, coat damp, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. Alexander Lancaster, Clara's brother. A man who looked like he'd built walls to keep his heart safe and buried himself behind them. "I came to see my sister," Naomi said softly. He frowned. "Your sister?" "Yes, Clara. I think she might have been my twin." Alexander's jaw tightened. He took a step closer, his voice lowering. "Clara couldn't have had a twin, could she?" The question wasn't just disbelief. It was fear, like something deep inside him already knew. Before Naomi could answer, a voice sliced through the rain. "Mr. Lancaster, we shouldn't be entertaining this." Victoria Hale, his advisor. Perfect posture, perfect lipstick, perfect chill. Her presence felt like a cold wind that never stopped blowing. She eyed Naomi up and down. Grief makes people imaginative and dangerous. Naomi's chest burned. "I'm not grieving your loss," she said, voice trembling but fierce. "I'm grieving the truth I was never allowed to know." Alexander's gaze flickered between them. He looked like a man torn between duty and curiosity. Finally, he said, "If you believe what you're saying, then prove it." Naomi didn't need more than that. "Give me a week," she said, "and I'll bring you proof." Later that night, her apartment felt smaller than usual. The hum of the fridge, the tapping of rain, it all pressed in like the world itself was listening. On the table lay her collection of fragments, an old photo of two infants wrapped in the same blanket, faded social worker notes, and a DNA kit still sealed in plastic. She traced the photo with her thumb. "Clara," she whispered, "if we shared the same heart once, let it guide me now." The storm outside eased, but her pulse didn't. The air felt charged, like a warning. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message read, "Stop searching, Naomi. You're not supposed to exist." Her hand froze midair. For a long moment she couldn't breathe. Then she laughed, quiet, shaking, defiant. "Guess that means I'm on the right track." She looked out the window. The clouds were breaking, the last drops of rain glinting against the streetlights like silver tears. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the storm inside her was just beginning. In Part 2, a DNA test changes everything, but Naomi soon learns that some people would rather burn the truth than let it be seen. Part 2, the proof that breaks open. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. Naomi held it like a live thing, as if the paper itself could bite. The DNA kit result had come in the mail that morning, no glossy certificate, just a folded sheet and a barcode. But she'd stared at that barcode until her eyes blurred. Her hands were steady now, but inside her, something had unlatched and was rattling. She unfolded the paper. The words stared back, clinical and final. "Full sibling probability, 99.999%. Her breath hitched. A laugh bubbled out of her, sharp, incredulous. "No way," she said aloud, then she wept. Tears slipped hot and unexpected down her face, and she let them come. There was laughing in the crying, like relief and grief had joined in some messy, holy duet. She called Alexander. He picked up after 3 rings, voice thinner than she remembered, less armor, more wear. "Naomi," he said, and his name sounded like a question and an apology at once. I got it, she said. She couldn't find the word. We're sisters. Silence on the line, then a whisper. This can't be real. His breath made a small sound, like a man trying not to crack. I need to see the paper. When Naomi arrived at the Lancaster estate, the place felt too tidy for a family that had just been told a secret. Portraits watched from the walls. The chandelier threw small, careful diamonds across the floor. Alexander met her at the door, the photo she'd shown him folded into his palm like a relic. The moment he saw the DNA results, something in him shifted. Guilt, fear, a memory that tugged like a splinter. This changes everything, he said, and the words were both a surrender and a question. Victoria was not at the door, she was in the library, where the curtains seemed to hold their breath. When Naomi entered, Victoria's smile was all teeth. Congratulations, she said, but the warmth didn't touch her eyes. This will be complicated. You think, Naomi's voice had an edge now. Do you know what it's like to live with a hole where your past should be? To watch other people name you with their comfortable lies? She wanted to tell Alexander everything. About the foster homes, the nights she convinced herself she wasn't worth looking for, the way she would press her face into pillows and pretend she could smell a family that never came. But the estate's air swallowed words. Alexander pressed a hand to his temple, a small human gesture. There are papers, he said slowly. Records from the agency. I'll look. We'll do this right. His eyes met Naomi's, and for a second they were two people lost on the same page, trying to find the next line. But Victoria did not linger in the room. When Naomi caught up to her in the hallway, Victoria's smile had gone flat. This won't help you, she said. Some stories are dangerous because they pull at threads that unravel more than a family. Think carefully about who you trust. Someone was listening. Naomi felt it in the way the hall seemed too long, like footsteps could echo forever. That night, she found a burned match like a tiny black flag on her doorstep. No note, just the smell of smoke that tugged at memory. She pressed the match between her fingers and the charred edge crumbled into powder. Fear clung to her, but anger flared brighter. She laughed then, hollow, fierce. Bring it, she said into the dark. Bring every secret. A knock on her apartment door startled her. An elderly woman stood there, small, coat buttoned up, eyes clear as glass. Miss Naomi, she said. My name's Etta. I used to work at St. Augustine's foster. If you're Naomi Williams, you might want to know what they tried to hide. Naomi's throat tightened. Come in, she said. Her whole chest ached like somebody had placed a hand on it and refused to let go. Hope and dread braided in equal measure. Because proof wasn't the end, proof was the match. And once a match kissed rope, everything that was knotted began to fray. Next, Naomi and Alexander pull the first official file from St. Augustine's. And what they find in the margins of an old case file will blow the lid off not just one lie, but a system built to bury whole children. Part 3, the file that shouldn't exist. The air inside the St. Augustine's records room was stale, like paper had been breathing there for a century. Rows of metal cabinets stood like soldiers, their drawers labeled in faded ink, Adoptions 1989-1991. Case resolved. Restricted. Naomi's palms were sweating. She'd expected resistance, but not the kind that smiled politely and said, "We don't have any records under that name." That's what the receptionist had told her, until Alexander Lancaster walked in, wearing quiet authority like a weapon. Within minutes, the same woman was unlocking the back room. "Just a few minutes," she muttered, eyes averted. Naomi caught Alexander's glance. "Guess power still makes miracles," she whispered. He gave a small, guilty smile. "Or ghosts open doors when they want to be found." Inside, the hum of an old air conditioner filled the silence. Dust floated like ash. Naomi's heart thudded as she pulled a file marked Lancaster, Clara, confidential. But something was wrong. There was another label faintly visible beneath the first, torn away but not gone. She held the folder under the fluorescent light and gasped. Cole, A. Her own name. Alexander stepped closer, the muscle in his jaw twitching. "That can't be." "It is," Naomi said. "It's mine." The folder trembled in her hands as she opened it. There were birth records, scribbled notes, and 3 small hospital ID photos stapled together. 3 infants, same birth date, same ID number series, but only 2 were crossed out. One photo had a red stamp over it. Transferred, no further inquiry. 3, Naomi whispered. There were 3 of us. Alexander stared at the page like it was rewriting his entire childhood. They told us Clara was the only one. Someone made sure you believed that, Naomi said. Someone like Victoria. The air tightened. A faint scent of old smoke still clung to the pages like they once been half-burned. Naomi ran her fingers along the margin and froze. There, in faded pencil, someone had written a name. Jasmine Rose, hold for evaluation. The words looked rushed, almost hidden. Beneath them, a line in smaller writing. Placement denied, unfit, unstable, do not disclose. Naomi felt her stomach twist. Unfit, she was a baby. Alexander swallowed hard. If there's a third, she's out there somewhere. He looked up at Naomi, and for once the distance between them felt smaller. 2 strangers bound by something older than memory. But before they could speak again, the overhead light flickered. Footsteps echoed in the hall outside, slow, deliberate. The receptionist's voice followed, brittle with fear. Someone's coming. You should go, now. Naomi shoved the file into her bag, heart hammering. They slipped through the side door just as the hallway door opened behind them. Outside, the sun was lowering, bleeding gold through the clouds. For a moment, Naomi stood still, the folder pressed to her chest. The world felt too quiet, like the calm before a storm knew your name. Alexander finally spoke, voice rough. If Jasmine's alive, we have to find her before someone else does. Naomi nodded. And if Victoria was part of this? She'll know we're coming, he finished. Naomi almost smiled, that fierce edge returning to her eyes. Good, let her. The camera would linger on the folder as the wind caught one loose page, Jasmine's baby photo fluttering out and landing face up on the pavement. Her tiny eyes stared up, innocent and unknowingly hunted. Next, Naomi and Alexander track down the missing sister, but Jasmine Rose isn't the lost one they expected. She's been watching them, and she's already decided who the real enemy is. Part 4, the girl in the photograph. The wind off the river carried the taste of rust and rain. Naomi stood at the edge of an abandoned neighborhood on the east side of the city, clutching the photo she'd rescued from the folder. The little girl in the picture, Jasmine Rose, had the same eyes, the same half-smile that Naomi saw in her own mirror. The photo had a smudge of ink on the corner, a partial address. That was how she'd found this place, a row of crumbling houses where windows stared like missing teeth. Alexander's car idled behind her. He stepped out, rubbing his hands together, scanning the street. You sure this is it? No, Naomi said, a nervous laugh slipping out. But when has sure ever helped us? They crossed the cracked sidewalk and knocked on the door with the half-peeled number 14. The sound echoed into silence. Then came footsteps, light, hesitant, and a woman's voice. Who's asking? Naomi's pulse jumped. My name's Naomi Williams, she said, raising her voice so it wouldn't shake. I'm looking for Jasmine Rose, I think we're. The door opened halfway. A woman stood there, dark hair tied back, eyes wide and sharp. Older than Naomi by maybe 2 years, with a posture that said she trusted no one. She didn't answer right away. She just looked from Naomi to Alexander, then back again, her hand tightening on the frame. You shouldn't have come, Jasmine said quietly. Naomi took a step forward. You know who I am. I've known for months. Jasmine's voice had an edge that sounded like survival. They started watching me again after you showed up at that grave. Alexander frowned. Watching you? Who? Jasmine's gaze cut to him. People who work for your father's estate. People who think money can erase blood. She reached into a box by the door and pulled out a folder, newspaper clippings, printed emails, copies of sealed adoption reports. I've been collecting these. Every time I got too close to finding you, the trail burned. Someone cleaned it. Someone named Victoria Hale. Naomi exhaled, a tremor slipping through her. Then you believe it, we're sisters. Jasmine hesitated. I believe I've been lied to, believing in family, that's harder. For a moment, the three of them stood in the doorway, the silence heavy with things they didn't know how to say. Then a noise cracked through the tension, a car door slamming down the street. Jasmine's head snapped toward it. "They found you," she whispered. "Get inside." They ducked into the dim house just as headlights swept across the wall. Through the curtain, Naomi saw two figures by the curb, one on a phone. She could almost hear Victoria's clipped voice in her mind. Calm and venomous. Jasmine pulled a small backpack from under the couch. "I've got copies of everything," she said. "If they take me, the story still gets out." Naomi grabbed her arm. "We're not letting them take you." For the first time, Jasmine's expression softened. "You talk like someone who's never lost everything." Naomi met her eyes. "Then maybe it's time you see what it's like when someone refuses to lose you." Outside, the engine started again, the sound receding into the distance. The three of them exhaled at once. Alexander leaned against the wall, the reality finally settling in. "We can't stay here. We'll go somewhere safe, review what you've found." Jasmine nodded slowly, but her eyes stayed on the window. "Safe," she said, almost to herself. "That's a word they taught me never to believe." Naomi looked at her sister, the one who'd been erased, the one who refused to disappear, and felt a strange mix of awe and fear. The family she'd wanted all her life was finally standing in front of her, but it was a family built from ruins and secrets. Outside, thunder rolled again, soft and distant, like a warning that hadn't finished speaking. Next, as the sisters uncover what Victoria has been hiding, Naomi realizes the danger isn't just about old records. It's about who's alive now, and who's willing to kill to keep the past buried. Part 5, The Letter That Shouldn't Exist. The motel was the kind of place that pretended not to notice who came or went. The neon sign outside blinked between rest and est. Inside, the air smelled of rain and electricity. Naomi sat on the bed, scrolling through the photos of Jasmine's files while Alexander watched the door, restless. Jasmine was hunched over the desk, a single lamp haloing her face. "Look at this," she murmured. "These aren't normal adoption forms. Someone redacted every agency seal. And this," she tapped the corner of a page, "this signature, it's fake. The same pen, same stroke on every form." Alexander came closer, brow furrowed. "So who authorized it?" Jasmine looked up. "Victoria Hale." The room seemed to shrink around that name. Naomi reached for the next folder and froze. There, folded inside an envelope yellowed by time, was a letter. Her name was written on it, in the same elegant, deliberate handwriting she'd seen on 100 press releases and checks from the Hale Foundation. Naomi's pulse quickened as she unfolded it. The paper trembled in her hands. "Naomi, if you are reading this, it means you have found what was never meant to surface. You must understand, what happened to you, to Jasmine, was not an accident. You were born into something that feeds on silence. Walk away before silence eats you too." "A VA." Her vision blurred. "She knew," Naomi whispered. "She knew everything." Alexander grabbed the letter. "This doesn't make sense. If Victoria wanted it hidden, why leave a letter warning you?" Jasmine leaned back, arms crossed. "Because she's not warning her, she's testing her." Naomi looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "Think about it," Jasmine said. "Victoria's the kind of woman who never moves without a reason. She left this to see how far you'd go, to know if you'd stop or dig deeper. She's playing you." The words hit like cold water. Naomi stared at the letter again, and this time the lines seemed different. The loops of the handwriting looked too perfect, the ink too fresh. "She wanted me to find this," Naomi murmured. The motel lights flickered. A car passed outside, then another. Alexander checked the window. "Maybe we should move." Naomi folded the letter slowly, her voice steadier now. "No, she wants me scared. She wants me silent." She met Jasmine's eyes. "But we're not children hidden in her paperwork anymore." Jasmine gave a small, grim smile. "Then we better hit back harder than she expects." From the bed, Naomi's phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. It read, "Still chasing ghosts, Naomi. You should check your mother's grave again. Someone left you a gift." The three of them stared at the screen. The sound of rain outside grew louder, beating like a warning against the window. Next, when Naomi returns to the graveyard, she'll find something buried that changes who the real villain is. Because Victoria may not be the one pulling the strings anymore. Part 6, The Gift Beneath the Soil. The cemetery was quiet, too quiet. The fog hugged the gravestones like it wanted to swallow them whole. Naomi stepped lightly, pulling her coat tighter against the night air, clutching the old letter Victoria had left, or maybe planted, in her hands. The rain had stopped, but the ground was slick with mud. She approached her mother's grave first, a simple stone that read Lillian Williams' beloved mother. Naomi dropped to her knees, fingers tracing the letters as if she could summon the past by touch alone. Then she noticed it, a small mound of freshly disturbed soil near the edge of the grave. Her breath caught. Something had been buried here recently. Someone had left her a message she hadn't asked for. She knelt, brushing the dirt carefully with her palms. Her fingers hit something hard, a small, rusted tin box. She picked it up, heart hammering, mud clinging to her coat. She opened it slowly. Inside were a few items, each one sharp and delicate with meaning. A faded photograph of 3 infants in matching blankets. Naomi's eyes went wide. There was Clara, Naomi herself, and Jasmine. A folded note, edges brittle with age. It read, "Naomi, truth is heavier than fear, but lighter than lies. Trust no one but yourself and your sister. The rest are shadows you must name." And a small key, tarnished but intact. Naomi's hand shook. The key was old, probably from the Lancaster estate or somewhere even older. She looked at the grave, the letter, and the photograph, and the weight of everything pressed down on her chest. For a moment, she could only whisper, "This is real." A sound made her flinch. A twig snapped behind her. She spun, nothing but fog and shadows. Her pulse raced, a mix of terror and exhilaration. Someone had been watching her. Maybe Victoria, maybe someone else entirely. Alexander's voice crackled over the phone. "Naomi, you there?" "Yes," she said, keeping her voice calm though her heart was a drumbeat. "I found something, a gift or a warning." "Be careful," he said, tension thick in his voice. "If Victoria planted it, she's already 3 steps ahead." Naomi looked at the items in her hands again. The photograph made her chest ache, the note whispered danger, and the key, well, it promised doors, both literal and metaphorical, that she wasn't sure she was ready to open. She laughed quietly, half disbelief, half defiance. 3 sisters, she murmured. They tried to erase us, but they forgot one thing: we survive. Footsteps approached, closer this time. Naomi froze. Her fingers gripped the key. A shadow moved between the gravestones, tall and deliberate. She recognized the stance immediately. Victoria Hale. Victoria's face was calm, almost polite, but her eyes were sharp, predatory. "Naomi," she said, voice smooth as ice. "You really shouldn't be here." Naomi stood slowly, holding the tin box close. "You already warned me once," she said. "But you underestimated me. You always underestimate us." Victoria smiled, a thin, dangerous curve. "We'll see if that holds true," she said, before retreating into the fog like a ghost that didn't want to be seen but still wanted to control the story. Naomi sank back to the ground, heart pounding, but a spark of triumph ignited inside her. They were playing a dangerous game, but for the first time she felt the scales tip slightly. She had proof. She had a key. And most importantly, she had Jasmine. The night pressed around her, but Naomi felt ready. Every shadow, every whispered threat, every secret buried by those who feared her, she was ready to dig it all up. Next, Naomi and Alexander will follow the key to a hidden room in the Lancaster estate. And what they uncover there will change everything they thought they knew about family, power, and betrayal. Part 7, The Hidden Room. The Lancaster estate loomed larger at night than Naomi remembered in daylight, every shadow stretching like fingers across the lawn. She and Alexander slipped through a side door, the key from the cemetery cold and heavy in Naomi's hand. Jasmine followed quietly, every step cautious, like she had learned early that one misstep could cost her everything. Inside, the house smelled of polished wood and old money, but Naomi's focus was on the key. She traced the outline of the brass handle on a narrow, unmarked door in the back of the study. Heart hammering, she slid it into the lock. A soft click echoed like a secret being acknowledged. She pushed the door open. The room beyond was small and suffocating, lined with shelves packed with folders, photographs, and files stacked in haphazard piles. Dust motes floated in the beam of Naomi's flashlight. She stepped inside, and the door thudded shut behind her. Alexander leaned against the wall, scanning quickly. Looks like someone's been hiding a lot. Naomi approached a low shelf. Hundreds of folders, all labeled with names, dates, and cryptic notes. Then she saw it, a folder marked Williams, Naomi, Confidential. Her pulse spiked. She tore it open. Inside, there were adoption papers, hospital records, letters between social workers, and most damning, a report signed by Victoria herself. Alexander leaned closer. This is everything. All the sisters who were erased, all the decisions that were never supposed to be questioned. Naomi flipped through pages, eyes wide. Photos of infants, notes on stability, repeated mentions of a Jasmine Rose being withheld from the public record. Every line she read felt like a punch. The system had been corrupt, and Victoria had been at the center of it. Jasmine stepped forward, voice low but sharp. "Look at this," she said, pulling a photo from the back of the folder. It was of a girl, maybe 8 years old, alone in a foster home. Eyes alert, wary, but something in that gaze mirrored Naomi's. "That's me," Naomi whispered, then catching herself, "No, that's Jasmine." Alexander's eyes darkened. "She's been through hell." Naomi felt fury spike through her veins. "And we're just supposed to stand here." Jasmine shook her head. "No, we hit back, but smart. Every move she's made, every record she's hidden, it's all here. We know what she fears." A sudden noise made all three freeze. Footsteps outside the study. Heavy, deliberate, Victoria, she had followed them. Naomi held up a folder like a shield. "Come in, Victoria. Let's talk about the truth." The door creaked, and Victoria stepped inside, calm and composed, but Naomi could see the flicker in her eyes. She wasn't expecting Naomi to find this room. Victoria's voice was soft, almost hypnotic. "You think you've won, don't you?" Naomi stepped forward, fury and courage woven together. "No, but I've found your lies, every one of them, and now everyone will know." Victoria's smile twisted. "You've uncovered some of the truth, but truth, like power, is layered. You've only scratched the surface." Naomi clenched her fists. "Then we'll scratch deeper. You can't hide anymore." The three sisters, Naomi, Jasmine, and even Alexander as their ally, stood shoulder to shoulder, a storm building behind their resolve. Outside, thunder rolled, echoing their fury and courage. Next, Naomi and Jasmine will confront Victoria directly, and the shocking twist they uncover about Clara's disappearance will change everything they thought they knew about family, betrayal, and survival. Part 8, The Truth About Clara. The storm outside the Lancaster estate had grown violent, rain hammering the windows like a drumbeat of warning. Inside, the house felt suffocating, heavy with secrets and the scent of old polished wood. Naomi, Jasmine, and Alexander moved carefully through the corridors, the folder from the hidden room clutched tightly in Naomi's hands. They reached Victoria's office. The door was slightly ajar, and the soft glow of a desk lamp spilled into the hallway. Naomi pushed it open. Victoria sat behind her desk, poised, immaculate, but the air around her crackled with tension. "Ah," Victoria said smoothly, her voice like silk hiding steel. "So the prodigal truth-seekers have arrived." Naomi stepped forward. "Stop hiding behind your walls and your papers. We know about Clara. We know what you did." Victoria's eyes flicked to Alexander, then to Naomi, then to Jasmine. "You think you know," she said, "but knowledge is only power if you can wield it wisely." Jasmine's jaw tightened. We've had enough of your wisdom. Where is Clara? Victoria leaned back, fingers steepled. Clara is gone, but not in the way you imagine. She was removed because she was in danger from people you'll never see coming. I protected her. Naomi's chest tightened. Protected by erasing her, by separating sisters. Victoria's smile was cold. Sometimes protection means creating distance. You wouldn't understand. None of you would. Naomi's anger flared. We understand survival, and we understand betrayal. Clara was our sister, and you stole her from us. Victoria's eyes narrowed. And yet, here you stand, alive, defiant. You're stronger than I expected. That, at least, is undeniable. Alexander's voice broke the tension. Enough. We're done listening to riddles. If Clara's alive, tell us where. If not, we will uncover every secret you've buried and the world will know. Victoria's calm facade wavered, just a fraction. She sighed, as if weary of the weight she carried alone. Clara was taken into witness protection. Your father's enemies weren't just corporate, they were dangerous. I made a choice to save her, even if it meant lying to you. Naomi sank into a chair, trembling, laughter and tears mingling. So she's alive, all these years, and we couldn't even touch her. Jasmine stepped closer to Naomi, her eyes softening for the first time since the journey began. We'll find her, she said quietly. Together. Victoria finally leaned back, the tension still palpable. If you go after her, know this, danger doesn't wait. You'll be hunted and every move will be scrutinized. Are you ready for that? Naomi stood, her voice steady, fierce. We've waited too long to be afraid. We've lost too much to stop now. Clara is our sister, and we will bring her home. Victoria's gaze lingered on them, a mixture of respect, calculation, and perhaps even fear. She knew the tide had shifted. Outside, thunder cracked, lightning slicing across the sky like revelation. Naomi clutched the folder tighter, the weight of truth and determination fusing into something unstoppable. This was no longer about papers or secrets. It was about reclaiming what was stolen, confronting the danger, and embracing the bond of sisters finally reunited. The storm's roar mirrored the fury and hope in Naomi's heart. Every step forward was perilous, but for the first time, the path was clear. Find Clara, expose Victoria, and reclaim the family that had been denied them. Next, Naomi, Jasmine, and Alexander must trace Clara's hidden life, and the first clue they uncover will shock them, revealing that someone they trusted may have been working against them all along. Part 9. Chasing Shadows. The city never truly slept, but tonight it seemed alive with secrets. Rain had left streets slick and shimmering, neon signs reflecting in puddles like fractured memories. Naomi and Jasmine moved quickly, Alexander close behind, their breaths clouding in the cold night air. Jasmine clutched a folder she'd taken from Victoria's hidden room, full of emails, photos, and coded notes. These aren't just adoption files, she said, voice tight. Victoria wasn't just covering her tracks, she was building a map of everyone who could threaten her secrets. Naomi frowned. A map like she knew we'd be looking. Exactly, Jasmine said. Every lead, every file, she left clues, but not in a way she thought we'd understand. Alexander stopped under a flickering streetlight. We need to start with the foster homes she mentioned. Someone there might know where Clara ended up. The first stop was a rundown building near the docks. Rusted gates, graffiti streaking the walls, the smell of wet concrete and cigarettes. Naomi's heart thudded. Memories of being erased, of whispered lies and lost siblings made her stomach twist, but determination pushed her forward. Inside, they found a social worker, an older black woman named Ms. Harper, who remembered Clara vividly. Her eyes widened at Naomi and Jasmine's arrival. You've found each other?" Ms. Harper asked, voice trembling. "Clara, she was taken in by a witness protection program, dangerous people. They told us never to talk about it, never to leave a trail." Naomi's chest tightened. "We're not leaving until we know where she is." Ms. Harper hesitated, glancing toward the door like someone could overhear them even now. Then she pulled out a manila envelope. Inside, a letter, a set of coordinates, and a faded photo of Clara, Older now, eyes sharp, wary, but unmistakably their sister. Jasmine studied the envelope carefully. This is Victoria's handwriting. Naomi's eyes narrowed. She wants us to follow it. Ms. Harper nodded. Yes, but be careful. You're not the only ones looking. Victoria's enemies, people with money, power, and revenge on their minds, are out there, and they know about you now. The sisters exchanged a look, fierce and silent. Naomi's fingers tightened around the coordinates. Then we move fast. Every second counts. They drove through rain-slick streets, the city lights blurring past. Every shadow seemed to twist and turn, every alley a potential trap. Naomi's mind raced, Victoria's warnings, the letter from the cemetery, the secret files. They were chasing ghosts, and some ghosts might be alive and waiting to strike. Jasmine leaned forward, whispering, I've got a feeling Clara's closer than we think. And when we find her, it's not just a reunion. It's going to be a war. Naomi swallowed hard. I don't care about the war. I care about my sister. That's the only thing that matters right now. Outside, the rain picked up again, pattering against the windshield like a countdown. A shadow moved along the side of the road, too fast, too deliberate. Naomi slammed on the brakes. A car door opened behind them. Headlights blinded them. Naomi's hands shook as she fumbled with the lock. The engine roared, tires spinning, chasing them into the dark. Alexander yelled, Hold on. The sisters clung to each other as Naomi floored the accelerator. The chase had begun, and they were in deeper than ever. Victoria's game was far from over, and Clara's location might be the deadliest secret yet. Next, Naomi and Jasmine face the first real confrontation with those who have been hunting Clara, and what they discover will force them to question who they can really trust, including Alexander. Part 10, Reunion and Reckoning. The abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city was quiet, almost deceptively so. Rain slicked the metal roof and flickering streetlights cast long shadows across the cracked concrete. Naomi, Jasmine, and Alexander crept forward, every nerve on fire. The folder in Naomi's hand rattled with loose papers, coordinates, photos, and proof of every secret Victoria had buried. Tonight, it all came to a head. Inside, Clara stood in the center of the room, her eyes wide, tense but alive. She was older now, stronger and sharper, someone who had survived years of erasure and silence. Naomi froze for a heartbeat, emotion catching in her throat. Clara, she whispered. Clara's gaze softened, but there was wariness there, a survival instinct honed over years. Then recognition lit her face. Naomi, she asked, voice trembling, hope and disbelief tangled together. Jasmine stepped forward. It's us, your sisters. The reunion was electric, but it was short-lived. A shadow moved at the edge of the warehouse. Victoria Hale appeared, composed but dangerous, her heels clicking against the concrete like a metronome of control. Ah, the family finds each other at last, she said, voice smooth and lethal. But it doesn't mean you win. Naomi's hands shook, not with fear but with fury. You think we're scared of you. Victoria's smile flickered. I don't need to scare you. I just need you to know the cost of truth. She gestured, and two men stepped from the shadows, armed and deliberate. Alexander stepped protectively in front of the sisters. This ends tonight, he said. No one else gets hurt. Naomi's mind raced. Every file, every clue, every hidden corner of the Lancaster estate, they'd been preparing for this moment. She glanced at Clara and Jasmine. Stick together, we move now. In a heartbeat, the sisters surged forward, knocking the men off balance. Naomi swung the tin box from the cemetery, the metal striking with a sharp clang. Jasmine lunged at one man, using her size and speed to push him back. Clara, fierce and trained by years of surviving in hiding, tackled the second attacker. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Clever girls, she hissed, stepping back, but Naomi blocked the exit, holding up the folder like a shield. It's over, Victoria, the truth is out. Everyone will see what you did. Victoria laughed, low and chilling. Do you really think anyone will believe you? You're just three girls chasing shadows. Naomi stepped closer, voice rising. We're not just girls, we're sisters. And we have the proof, every hidden name, every erased record. You can't hide anymore. The warehouse doors burst open as police lights swept across the walls. Alexander had called ahead. Victoria's facade faltered, eyes widening in shock. For the first time, she looked vulnerable. The sisters huddled together as officers moved in. Victoria's manipulations, her lies, her attempts to erase their family, everything crumbled before them. Naomi felt tears slip down her cheeks as Clara hugged her tight. Jasmine wrapped her arms around both of them, whispering, "We're finally together." Outside, the storm broke fully, rain washing the streets and reflecting neon light like liquid fire. It was cleansing, chaotic, and beautiful, like the life they had fought to reclaim. Naomi looked at her sisters, at Alexander, at the proof in her hands. "We survived," she whispered, laughter and tears mingling. "And now we thrive." Clara smiled, finally allowing herself to release the years of fear and separation. "We're a family," she said. "Nothing can erase that." Victoria was led away, her calm facade gone, powerless. The sisters had reclaimed their history, their bonds, and their future. And in that moment, Naomi realized something profound. The truth may have been buried, but it always rises, and when it does, it changes everything. Closing. The story didn't end with Victoria's arrest. Naomi, Jasmine, and Clara knew the world wasn't perfect, but they had each other and the strength to fight for every erased voice out there. And somewhere, the ripple of their courage was already inspiring others to unearth the secrets that had been kept from them.